Some things never cease to amaze me. Sunrises, hitting a golf ball straight, and the overwhelming ignorance of the common person. Here's a thought. Use Form Bs to determine classification. This, in fact, is competitive balance. Season 8 of Sun Coaches Podcast, where not everyone is funny or tells funny stories, but everyone has a story. Welcome to Sun Coaches Podcast, Season 8, kicking off this week. And as usual, on Tuesdays, to start the new year off and to start it off right, I'm joined by Coach Ed Gaffca, the Executive Director of the Georgia Fired Football Coaches Association. Happy New Year to you, Coach.
Happy New Year, Coach. Hope you and your family had a great break, enjoyed family time, and are ready to get back to some pre-planning and get ready to teach bell to bell.
Oh, there ain't no doubt. I mean, absolutely, that's what we do, teaching bell to bell, and that pre-planning, that one day of pre-planning coming back is always something that we've got to do to make sure that we're prepared when these children come back to tell us what all they got for Christmas and what all they have decided were going to be their New Year's resolutions. I understand that you have a few New Year's resolutions yourself.
Yeah, I got to thinking, as we went through Christmas and as we're standing there, in the church and lighting the light, singing Silent Night, it came to me that, there's definitely some things on my heart that I think need to be, said for most coaches in and around high school football that, to be honest with you, they could probably carry over every single year when it comes to your New Year's resolutions. And, I'm going to go kind of one at a time, make sure we hit on these. There's only a handful of them, but, I think it casts that wide net. And, so the first one is dress age appropriate, right? And what I mean by that is very simple, right? If you dress like you are an 18-year-old boy and you wear extremely tight clothing, and you are just everybody looks and goes, man, that guy cares a lot more about what he wears and looking cool than probably coaching, and that might not be a fair assumption, right? It might not be, but at the end of the day, I don't understand the appeal to doing that. Dress for the job you want, not the job you have, or for a lot of coaches, dress for the age that you are and not the age you want to be. And we've seen it, and if we could please God incorporate not having backpacks worn on the sideline from coaches, that would also just be an asterisk little, side note, footnote on this New Year's resolution, because, they just, again, you only see it at high school level of football, just complete douchebag coaches. And to me, I would love to, just have a New Year's resolution to eliminate that as best we can. And, dress your age a little bit.
Well, I'll certainly agree with that. As an old dude, I get it. And, you don't have to wear a flat front bike, coaching shorts and socks pulled up to your knees, but you also don't need to be wearing skinny joggers and, whatever else these guys wear. They look like clowns. Speaking of clowns, I didn't hit on this in the state playoff game. I've got a New Year's resolution. That kid that's the young coach at Thomas County Central that was doing the worm on the sideline, I know you might be the hype man for the team. That was a bad look. I would never hire you. I mean, there's not a situation I could think. You might be the best football coach in ever, and you have a state championship ring and I don't. But if I had to get down on the ground and do the worm during the football game to get kids fired up, I meant to say something about that the other week, but I just completely forgot. That flew all over me. But that would be, I agree, age appropriate. Same thing there. I mean, you can get kids jacked up without doing the worm on the sideline.
No, again, that's a that's super embarrassing for the program, and honestly, not for nothing, I think it takes away a little bit of the win. If you were to ask me in this organization, we would have found a way to deduct them some points. It wouldn't have mattered, obviously, because they boat raced, but we would have taken a touchdown off the board for your coach being a complete clown. Which I think would have been fair, and I think a lot of people watching on TV would have also agreed with. So I've got no problem with that. Now, moving on to number two, it kind of parlays into it kind of builds on it where obviously, dress your age, dress age appropriate, but the next one to me is, and I don't even know why I have to say this, but don't touch kids and don't talk DM kids. Again, it only leads to terrible things. Number one. Number two, if you're sitting there DMing kids not in your program, okay, obviously you need to stay in touch with kids in your program, and hopefully you're not slotting into your kids' DMs and stuff. But like the reality is, there are so many coaches that fall into this, like, hey, I'm getting DM'd by these kids or whatever. Great, okay, that I understand we all have our social media profiles, but I mean, I it is be at a Thanksgiving dinner, right? And I know some of you who do talk to kids online are playing on Thanksgiving, so it's different. But imagine being around a table and you've got extended family around there, and they're asking you about your job and what it is you're doing. Like, man, you're really hammering away, on the phone over there, and they ask you, and all of a sudden your response to them is, yeah, no, I'm DMing with some 16-year-olds, right? In any other industry, brother, you are arrested. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You are arrested, because in no other industry should you ever be, the norm shouldn't be, man, I'm DMing with some 15, 16, 17-year-old kids, 17-year-old boys. If they reach out to you, have a process in place to protect yourself and to not ever run into a situation where, God forbid, they accidentally send you something or whatever. But and it kind of piggybacks on not, DMing kids. But again, it's step one, day one. You can't put your hands on kids, and I know that, boy, there are definitely times where I think all of us would kind of need somebody to hold us back a little bit. But ultimately, if you want to keep your job, you know, don't put your hands on kids, and don't DM kids. I don't know why that's such a taboo thing, and people listening to this might end up going, yeah, but I do it okay. Okay, but like, if you were to stand outside the pearly gates and they're sitting there reading off some stuff about you, and they come across, okay, was DMing 16-year-old boys. Let me check what his job is, right? Like, I mean, again, if you were an accountant and DMing 16-year-old boys, again, arrested. Put them under the jail, is what we would be saying. Don't even care if it's inappropriate or not. If you're DMing 16-year-old boys, just pass that buck to somebody else, okay? Because again, that is like a coach doing the worm on the sideline or dressing super not age appropriate. Okay, like, you're trying to be them and relate with them, and it's just, God, it makes me uncomfortable sitting here thinking about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's never good. And piggybacking off of that, one of the I guess I generally don't have. I resolve to not have resolutions generally, but for this segment, I'm going to make sure I have some, and kind of piggybacking off of that. Here's one of mine, and it's you did a great job of putting out the teams. It took a lot of research to figure out FTE count, looking that up, which is amazing that with everything you've got on your plate, that as the executive director of the Georgia Fire Football Coaches Association, you could actually find the time to go in and match up schools, their records, and how many they had on the Form B list. But this is going to be my resolution. I think we need to quit. The people need to quit putting on Twitter and getting on there and getting all bent out of shape about, but how many out of zone people did they have? And here's why. It's not going to change. They're not going to do anything about it. They're not all of a sudden going to go, oh, so people don't like this. Well, we just won't have that anymore. That's not going to happen. So complaining about it and, people getting all fired up about homegrown versus not homegrown and all that other stuff, and I know you agree with me on this one. We don't care. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But what we need to have is some guardrails in place where we classify by how many of those Form Bs or whatever else you're using. But that would be my one resolution there. Off the top of my head, I can think of. How about what would be your third one this year, Coach?
Well, and again, I definitely echo that same sentiment you just mentioned, because the amount of people that reach out to me and say, "Well, what's out of zone numbers, all that stuff." Again, those numbers, the FTE numbers or the Form B numbers, those are individually held by each school. So that's not something that the GHSA has like a public data, bank of, so I can't look up those. But if you call each individual AD, chances are you're probably not going to get them, but you can ask for them. And the reality is, when you think of out of district or out of zone kids, those are kids that, not honestly, probably in large part are not kids that are playing a bunch of sports. Those are kids going there for academic reasons, or, it's a magnet school, whatever. So there are some asterisks by that. Now, that's not to say that some kids are, not out of district that are going there to play football or basketball or whatever, because we all know that that's the truth. Now, I don't know how they classify some Thomas County Central kids that live down there in Tallahassee, if that's technically out of zone, or if they just went ahead and adopted that shit in. But you got to ask them. But so from now, number 3, my biggest thing is be where your feet are. There's a lot of people that are anxious about the job season and, man, is this all the jobs that are going to open, or what am I going to do next year? Am I ready to be a coordinator, ready to be a head coach, or maybe I need to go do XYZ? Just be where your feet are and take advantage of the opportunities that you do have in that building. If you feel like you have you've been a sponge long enough in those buildings and learned everything you can from every coach in that building, every coach in that football field house, there's nothing wrong. I would encourage you to create connections with other coaches and figure out a way to be, as personable and attractive to other schools that want your services. But under no circumstance do you hide that from your current head football coach or coordinator or whatever. It's nobody's going to be mad at you for looking at what else is out there. What they're going to be mad about you about is you blindsiding them, right? They're going to be mad because you try to do everything in secret. And even current head coaches, where it's like, hey, I don't want to do XYZ to upset the coach or the admin or the superintendent or whatever. And I definitely understand that is a big concern. But as long as, again, you're on the same page with everybody and the right people know, they can be upset that you're leaving, but they'll get over that a lot quicker than if you blindside them and put in a resignation after, everybody knows if you're missing some days in the middle of the week, they know probably where you're going. I mean, so understand that not everything is always better elsewhere, but just be where your feet are. Take advantage of the opportunity you have, in that building, and don't take that for granted. But main thing is just again, not everything is I need to get to that next job. and have a realistic conversation. Take that opportunity to, adjust your resume. Have you coached every position? Do you need to coach a position that you've never? Do you need that experience? And again, it's a lot easier to get that experience with a coach that knows who you are and how you operate, than it is to say, "Hey, hire me for a position I've never coached." So just be where your feet are, take advantage of that, and be happy. Just to find a way. If be happy. That's the main thing.
Wise words there, Doctor. Absolutely. I'm sure we're going to revisit this again in our last segment today, which will be off-season do's and don'ts. I was told a long time ago, which is funny for me to say it because I've got all the T-shirts, but I can honestly say that I have enjoyed, I would say, all but one of the places I've been. I really walked away with a great experience, great relationships with the people, met a lot of people, networked with a lot of people, and got to have an effect on a lot of different kind of kids and a lot of different kids that I've been able to keep up with over the years. So I can definitely get down with that New Year's resolution. Do you have any more, Coach?
And I'll kind of put a bow on that, and it kind of goes with the being happy and being where your feet are, which is, your quality of life ultimately matters, right? And your wife and your family sacrifices a lot during football season and in the summers at times. This is one of those times right now where, I think if you want some brownie points and some other stuff, I can't encourage you more than I can right now by, take your wife on a date, and unplug and get away from football for, a few days, a week, whatever you need to do, recharge the batteries because, yeah, is it a 24/7 job at times? Most of the time, yeah, it is. But you know, I think that we all try to keep up with the Joneses way too much. Just because Buford's doing something right now does not mean, uh, you know, Ace Charter needs to be doing something, right? Not everybody has to try to keep up. Do what's in the best interest of your kids, both your players and your actual kids, if you do have kids. Do what's in the best interest of kind of getting you right, in my opinion, and ultimately, I think that we all run into that issue time and time again of keeping up with the Joneses, trying to say, well, if they've already started doing their off season, throwing, catching, whatever, man, we're already behind the eight ball. Shit, you playing Buford this year? You gonna beat Buford this year? I mean, to me, I don't know if I don't think anything that they're doing right this minute in January is going to be the 100% difference in the outcome of the game, come whenever you play them. I'm sure Carrollton does a lot of really good stuff, during this time. Did it ultimately matter if they had one more practice or one more quote unquote 4-on-1? Probably not. Probably not. So, again, take advantage of the time you have, unplug for a minute, and go enjoy, uh, you know, being around your wife and kids, and soak that up, and understand that the problem or the stressor that you do have, about coming up to spring football and everything like that, still be there tomorrow. She'll be there tomorrow. Handle it. But, you know, don't, you already miss enough during the fall. Don't miss anything else, in the winter when it don't, that's, there's a big deal and a little deal. That's a little deal. So I would highly stress being able to focus on, keeping the wife happy, keeping the kids happy, and worry about football, when it's supposed to be worried about, and take advantage of the time you have right now.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And it reminds me of the tweets going around right now where Signetti's on there and he's the head coach of Indiana. They're number one. They're winning. And he says, I don't keep up with how long people stay here. You work until you get your work done and then you go home. And we only practice an hour and a half every day and, hour and 45 minutes because I want to keep them fresh. It's very nice to have, of course, he and I are in the same age bracket. So we kind of think the same way in that respect, that with technology the way it is, there's no reason for you to sit up there and work just for the sake of saying, oh, we're going to outwork everybody. Well, just because you work longer doesn't mean that you're outworking people. And just because you put all this time into it doesn't mean that you're going to be better for it. And I just really appreciated seeing that. But that ends up our New Year's resolutions segment. Now we're going to roll into the jobs. And if you're a coach gearing up for the job search, you already know your portfolio can make or break your next opportunity. At coachingportfolio.com, we help coaches at every level stand out with elite professional grade portfolios, resumes, and interview prep tools. From ready-to-use templates to custom-built documents, we take the guesswork out of the process. Whether you're chasing your first job or your dream job, be prepared, be polished, and be unforgettable. Visit coachingportfolio.com and make your next move with confidence. I'd like to thank Coaching Portfolio for their sponsorship of our product and our content. And Coach does a good job with that. So if you guys need something that doesn't look like I did it, definitely get with him. He'll get you hooked up with whatever you need, whether it's a actual portfolio, resume, cover letter, all that kind of good stuff. And that leads into what I've got to say about one of the jobs that's open. It was brought to my attention that one of the jobs that's open has posted what you need to do if you want to be the head coach at this place, the next head coach at this place. And I just wanted to share with everybody what it said. And here's what I found out, is that in this job situation, they want you to do there's 4 or 5 phases. Press the wrong button, Coach. Bear with me. You have to hear it again.
You're good.
So we got the phases, or there are 4 or 5 phases. First one, standard, send a resume, cover letter, 3 references. That's standard. The next thing they want you to do, and I'm reading this from the website, this is when you know that you've got a clown show involved in what you got going on, is they want you to tell them written coaching philosophy statement, typical weekly practice and off-season schedule, 5-minute video introduction addressing coaching philosophy, player development, academic accountability, community and feeder program alignment. Then they're going to bring you in, and the 3 finalists or 5 finalists or however many finalists they end up having are going to have to present this to the returning players' families and the stakeholders in the community. Now, there are people out there that need a job. They got to have a job. They don't have a job. So if they take this job, that's fine. You had to have a job. If for some reason you ain't one of these people and you get this job, just know that every one of us is going to know that somewhere out there is a 5-minute video of you sitting down doing this dog and pony show. It's what I've always called it. And if I know Coach Ed, like I think I know Coach Ed, if there's anybody that can get a hold of said video, it'll be Coach Ed Gaffca. And if he gets it, he's going to share it with the rest of us, and we will make fun of you. So typical dog and pony nonsense of making videos and dealing with all this other stuff, but at least they gave you a timeline, Coach.
Well, I got to be honest with you. That might be the biggest bunch of bullshit I've ever heard. They are going to be very lucky if I have the time. If I have the time, I'm going to send them so many, like 3.5 to 5 minute videos, just of random shit. and honestly, it's just going to be a bunch of me narrating, different thoughts about coaching philosophy and honestly how, I'll just take on different personalities. I'll be an old school coach one day, just talk about how we're going to get in too tight wishbone and just, absolutely, running down these SOBs' throats. And, the next video I send, I'll be the hip new coach and talk about having a guy with a boombox as we walk in. And everybody's got matching stunner shades on. It's gonna be excellent. But really and truly, I understand the want to for this particular school to weed out any of the nonsense of all right, who's actually serious and intentional about this job. I think they are missing the boat in terms of how to actually accomplish that. Because if you want a good head football coach, do you really think they're going to send you any kind of video that's worth a shit? That's going to give you any idea about who they are? They're going to have their wife, their girlfriend, maybe their kid, whatever. They're going to have them record that shit on some shitty little phone, and it's going to be looking like you're FaceTiming your granddad, and they're going to be shooting their forehead the whole damn time. It's not going to be good. And that might be your best damn football coach for the job, but because they don't have a Ring camera and shoot a bunch of TikTok videos, it's not going to come across the right way. And ultimately, I think that they are missing the boat here. I think that you can make your application process, intentional and weed out, your park and rec Super Bowl champion coaches from applying. Obviously, I think you can make that, actually happen. But also know who you are. If this were shit, I don't even know. I don't know what job I'd apply for, and I see this, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do that. I want this job bad enough. Um, I, you know, I I don't know if there's a job I'd compare this to say, hey, this is a realistic ask. Okay, um, not for not for the damn money they pay there. You want to listen? You want to pay me some Joey King money? Shit, yeah, I'll give you a 10-minute video, and I'll even sing in that bitch. But I'm not sitting here for the salary, the local supplement, and for the 8 to 3 that you're about to make me have to deal with. Hell no. Listen, y'all can go kick rocks on that now. I will send a video. I will go through the process out of spite just to send a video. So I hope you pull that shit up and tell you how dumb that shit is. And now I'm getting heated about it. I might end up doing it just to do it. Just if I have the, I might make time for that shit because this is so ridiculous, especially at this school. I mean, without giving it away, there ain't Josh Nesbitt's running around anymore. Okay. And even if there were, I ain't making a goddamn video for that bullshit. I'm not. So they can figure that thing out on their own. But yeah, that just, again, if y'all end up submitting a video, yes, I will 100% find it. So just, buyer beware there.
Yeah, I knew that would get you stirred up, Coach. I had the honor and privilege of coaching in the GACA All-Star game this past week, and Coach Craig Davis and Tommy Howell and the whole organization did a great job with the whole weekend. I thought it was great, had a good time, and good experience. But we sat around and laughed about, could you imagine one of these old school guys trying to, I mean, if this is what you had to do 25, 30 years ago, and they got the VHS over the shoulder camcorder, and there'd be a lot of cussing on it because they couldn't figure out what button to press. It's kind of like me operating the Mega Brain here, the command center of the Sun Coaches podcast. But there is no way under God's green earth. I don't care what job it's for. I don't care what kind of money they're paying me. You want me to, if that's what you want me to do, then you better know that I better not be worried about no parking lot duty, no lunchroom duty, no lesson plans, none of that. Because you obviously are more interested in this other nonsense than you are the total package of, it just flew all over us, and we thought it was funny. And I thought that'd be something to get you good and stirred up about going into the new year. And so what have anything else you've heard in the job market? I know there's not a whole lot that goes on during the break.
No, obviously we had the surprise opening of Camden County, now part 2 of their opening, and I'm sure that's going to now take a little bit longer but I also assume that they're going to have a much more um, they're going to have a much more detailed, uh, list on this one. It's actually going to go through a little bit more of a process. But again, don't call them; they'll call you. Um, Winder's still a shit show. Hart County's narrowing stuff down. Um, Discovery has, you know, God love them. I think they still haven't hit double digits when it comes to applicants. So if you are interested in taking on that job in that county, by all means, you don't have to submit a 5 minute video. They actually will probably send you a video, so that might be a bonus. Um, but outside of that, Johns Creek will be closing. You have a bunch of them that are just kind of waiting for this January session to close to announce some folks. I think that I think Wayne County will be closing soon. Brunswick soon. Um, and again, some of these are hiring places that do have current sitting head coaches, so it's not like we're going to decrease the number of openings. It's just we're about to replace one with another. Um, you have what did I say? Mitchell County down there in the just ass of the state between Bainbridge and Albany. I think that God bless you if you go down there. This might be the only time of year it's appropriate to be down there and be comfortable. I don't know the bug situation down there in January, but I feel like as soon as it starts getting a little bit hotter, you're in a nightmare of a place. So enjoy that. But outside of that, I'm surprised that Fannin County hasn't closed or even kind of hinted at that they're closing anytime soon. Surprised that a couple of these that have been open for quite some time, that they aren't closer to being, um, you know, closed off. Maybe it's they're taking their time. Maybe everybody's wanting a 5 minute video these days, and they just gotta. I wish I had that time, right? And again, I'm going to keep going back to it because it does piss me off to think about. Imagine being like the superintendent had to sign off on this process, and the superintendent said, "You know what's a good usage of our AD and our principal and our admins, time. Let's go ahead and for everybody that submits these videos, y'all got to watch this shit. Give your thoughts on it. Probably have a rubric of some kind because God knows they love a rubric. And then we're going to, compile all that. Then we're going to get our finalists and we're going to bother the people of Green. You already know what county, Green County. You're going to bother those damn people to come up and say, hey guys, listen to these presentations of these, potential football coaches. You know whose opinion on the matter I don't give a shit about? The parents. Because as a leader, I should know how to pick a leader of the school and the kids that I provide. You going and asking the citizens is just passing the buck. Hey guys, I know we hired the last guy and he put his hands on some kids, so here's us not taking responsibility. Y'all pick this one. That's bullshit. That's just bullshit. Like, I say it all the time on X, grow up, Peter Pan. That's not how it works. We don't live in a fairy tale land. If you're a leader, you lead. And all that means is make your decision, stand by it, have your justification, communicate it appropriately. This is why we hired this person. It's not, okay, just so I saved my ass on this, we need community feedback to make a football coaching hire. Even though some hothead parent is going to go out there and be like, well, I'm just going to ask him questions about his offense and his defense, and if I don't like his answers, I'm going to be poor mouthing him from the jump, even though he might be the best damn fit. And her kid or their kid might end up being the shittiest football player in that hallway and doesn't even want to play. But they're going to cost somebody a job. I think this is the most unreal, and I know we put it to bed, but shit, I cannot get over it. I cannot get over that shit show that they're allowing to take place. And I don't call for coaches' jobs, but shit, I call for admin jobs all the time. My God, somebody needs to do some firing over there of whoever came up with that plan and whoever is not man or woman enough to say, hey guys, this is my decision. This is why. I'm not afraid of, making the wrong decision. I'm going to have some conviction in my choice because I'm a leader and didn't just get my leadership certificate. So I'm off my soapbox on that, but yeah, that's just still bullshit that I'm thinking of it now.
Well, I knew that was going to get you jacked up. I knew it was. Man, I'm proud of myself for that one. That was daggum belt high fastball right there. So that ends that segment. We'll talk more next week about jobs, but we'll roll into the next thing and we'll kind of pile on to some things we said. And it's do's and don'ts of the off season. And I'll just throw a few out there. Do's, spend time with your family, enjoy the downtime, go watch the kids play other sports if they're involved in basketball or golf or, any of the spring sports, baseball, track, all that good stuff. Let them know you care more about them than just when they're out there with you. Do go to a coaching clinic, if for nothing else, to network and with your guys and see your people. There's going to be 1,000 of them. They're all over the place. Glazers in Atlanta. They got one in Orlando. They'll have the JFCA at some point in time. Every college has one. Go learn something. Go sit down with something. The Southeastern Wing T Clinic, Coach Holmes puts on, is a great clinic. They have offensive and defensive rooms. He does a great job with that second weekend in March. And, go listen to somebody that knows something that you don't. Even if you're not going to do what they say, I would do that. Do something for yourself. Do something you enjoy doing during the off season. Go find a hobby. Get a hobby. If you don't have one, create one. It could be anything. Read, watch videos, play golf, do woodworking, do something, because when the time comes for this game to leave you, you're going to need something to do to fill that void, and it's going to happen to all of us. Now, for my don't list, don't ask me who's going to get a job. Don't ask me if I can help you get a job. Don't call me. Don't text me. I don't know. So don't do that. You go figure it out some other kind of way. I'm getting to a point in my life where I don't know, and I don't want to know, and I don't want to be bothered. Don't show up at the clinic with your resume on your phone where you can show it to people while you walk around. For God's sakes, don't show up in skinny pants and a backpack on your back. Personal pet peeve, don't walk around indoors with a hat on. You're already covered. You should uncover when you come into a building. There's no reason for you to wear a hat on inside unless you're a woman and you're at church. That's the only time that it's appropriate. And that's pretty much my do's and don'ts. I'm sure I'll comment on a few of yours, Coach. I know you've got maybe not a lot, but you've got some off-season do's and don'ts for us.
Well, and honestly, and you hit on a lot of them, right? And a lot of the dudes is similar to kind of the previous, our first segment about, do take the time for yourself, do, take your wife out, do find a way to, learn something new, regarding, I always call it being a sponge, which I think is invaluable when it comes to, any coach. Whenever you feel like you're the smartest person in the room, chances are, either A, you need to go look in the mirror and realize you don't have all the answers, or B, it's time to get out of that room. When it comes to, I've got a lot more dones than I have do's. I 100% believe, though, you need to do this if you're at any job. It doesn't matter if you're at a great job or a bad job. The best thing you can do for your kids in your, upcoming season is build relationships with your kids, figure out how to best put them in a position to be successful next year. There's a lot of stuff that we all watch on Saturdays and in the college football playoff and on the NFL and yada yada yada. There's so many things that are great play designs, great things, but ultimately, and I'm really speaking to the young coaches here, and it's not as prevalent with some old guys, but you can't do that shit. When you go and you're at Kirby's clinic and you all just salivate at the mouth because he's yelling and cussing on a goddamn microphone, understand that 90% of that's performative. Okay? And understand that what he's coaching, everybody on that field is better than every player you have, unless you're, who's of the world in Georgia. But the reality is, you can't do that shit. You can't do this pattern match stuff that they do. You can't do, a lot of the stuff that their OL does, because you just don't have those kids. I pray you do, so you can run those things. But figuring out what your kids can do successful and just being great at it, making it simple, and playing with playing within yourself is going to lead to a lot more success than you wasting anybody's damn time trying to install some shit that you saw at a Kirby camp or a Dabo camp or whatever. It's just not, that's not how you build anything, in my opinion, of success. I think that going to those things are great for learning maybe some drills that'll help. Learning just like practice structures and things of that nature. If you're there to learn how to yell at kids, Jesus, guys, like, you're probably somebody that wears a goddamn backpack on the sideline and just really likes putting on a headset. Figure out what works, be comfortable in your own damn skin, and realize that you don't need to cuss at the kids to feel big and bad and tough and get them to respect you. That you got to do the worm on the sideline for them to respect you, apparently. But the reality of it is, be honest and transparent person with your kids, figure out what makes them tick, and figure out how to best set them up for success. I think that's the most invaluable thing you can do with your time, this off season. I also believe you should not, under any circumstance, DM kids. I'll say it again. Stop DMing kids. Again, I'm going to get a T-shirt with it on there, because you just don't do it. But I also don't believe you need to, again, try to go and see everybody who's getting these transfers ad nauseum. Who gives a shit? Worry about you. Be honest and transparent within your program and with your admin. And again, please do not send anonymous emails and letters to the GHSA. Honestly, it's a massive waste of everybody's time. I would rather you just send that shit directly to me. And listen, we'll guerrilla marketing that thing, and we'll get that thing out, plastered out on social media, and you'll get the reach you need to. But if you end up sending that to the GHSA, you've got a better chance of God coming down and taking you straight up to heaven out of your bed tonight than you actually getting a response from the GHSA. They're putting that thing in the trash as soon as they get it. It's from nobody. It's from pseudonym or some dumbass made up name. Silence do good letters over here. Okay, like, come on. Just realize that there's bigger fish to fry. Worry about what you can control, and just, again, if kids are moving and transferring everywhere, good on them. I got nothing against kids thinking that they're in a better situation. And honestly, if a kid's already trying to leave your place, do you even want their ass? Because they're already gone. So who gives a shit? Coach the kid you got. Be honest when people ask you about, oh, where's so and so at? Well, they transferred, they moved, so we got to replace them. It's that simple. Sometimes it's addition by subtraction, and sometimes you're Alpharetta, and your kids end up going elsewhere, and now they're hiring another football coach again, and you're not going to bring in kids. So the reality is, guys, I really believe that there's a whole lot of don'ts this offseason, and a big don't when it comes to you personally has to be what Coach mentioned about having your resume out there on your phone at these clinics. Go and be a sponge of people, connect with people, see if you can go learn something new to take back. Don't go in there and try to find your offense. Don't go in there and try to, you know, find answers to the test that's going to be this fall, because everything you learn there still has to be applied, regurgitated, and you got to be an effective enough teacher to give it to the kids. So, you know, they clinics can be great, but they can also be a tremendous waste of time if you go and are there for the wrong reasons and you rub people the wrong way because you're sitting there trying to get a job, out from under everybody. And everybody knows those people because they just bounce around and talk about, hey, you got anything? You got anything? It's fucking annoying. So let's not do that. Um, but outside of that, I think that, I'm still so damn hot about the video thing that I'm going to go ahead and say one thing that you should do if you have an interest in that Greene County job. You should go and buy a freaking ring light and start working on your content creation selfies so you can best set yourself apart from the other candidates who will probably also have to submit a TikTok dance along with it. So I can't wait to see these submissions. This one's going to keep my blood pressure up for a couple days, I think.
Well, I didn't tell you about this last segment on purpose because I wanted to spring it on you, but I did see that the Fired Football Coaches Association dropped some new merch last week, and you asked our opinions, and it was the BTA, and we saw Michael Irvin all fired up after his Miami Hurricanes shocked the world and beat Ohio State. I haven't watched any of the games, and the four that are left, I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't care one way or the other who wins it at this point. But Coach, do you have any opinions whatsoever on the CFP as it is right now?
Well, a couple things. Yeah, we definitely released the BTA, belt to ass shirt right there, and part of that was submitted by a couple people that were like, because I had answered a few questions to some responses on some things about, we're an equal opportunity belt to ass provider here at the GAFFCA. And so we just ended up turning that into a shirt. And once I saw the Michael Irvin thing, I was like, oh, this is great. Now, when it comes to the CFP, right, I'm of the opinion that there is no benefit to having a bye week. If you're one of the top four seeds, if they want to actually make it to where there is some sort of benefit aside from the time off, I think you need to have that second round. The games that were played at the Rose Bowl and the Sugar and all that stuff, those should also be home games for those top four seeds. So Alabama would have gone to Indiana. Ole Miss would have gone back to Georgia. You'd have had all these games. Miami would have gone up to Ohio State, and Oregon would have went to Texas Tech. I think that those would have been a big benefit because ultimately you have the time off between the first round, so the conference championships end. Then you turn around and you play that first round, and then you end up having another 10, 11, however many days in between that turnaround there. And to me, you have just as much time off as you need to where it's not necessarily a benefit to, like, I think it was Indiana or there was a couple teams that hadn't played like 25 days, right? Texas Tech was one of them, I think. And to me, I think that's the biggest issue I see with it is I've got nothing against, I think the best teams are, they're still playing. I mean, I do. I think it speaks for itself. You win games on the field, and like I've said it for many years, it's hard to beat teams twice. So anytime I see a rematch on for whether it's for an SEC championship, ACC championship, or in the playoff, I'm always going to lean the other side of this thing. And, it's played well for Georgia because they can't beat Alabama the first time. So they always have to try to get them a second time. And then Ole Miss finally beats Georgia, and they needed a second time to do it as well. So again, I just think that you're in a situation a lot of times where you can't really, that's just a hard thing to overcome anyway. So my hope for the remaining games is that they're just competitive football games. I wish that they wouldn't do the Heisman until after the season, and I think that the whole schedule with the transfer portal and all that stuff is insanity and should be fixed. I will gladly nominate my services if they would like me to fix that calendar for them. Be happy to do it. They just got to ask. We can be bought, but we're not cheap, right? So the reality is, if they want it done right, give me a call.
Well, Coach, as usual, I appreciate it. All your input, all the work you do put into the podcast and the preparation that you do. You do a lot more of it than I do. Obviously, you have a lot of great information, and I appreciate you being on and kicking off this 2026 year as we start. And we'll hit the 200th episode, the last episode of this season, and I really can't wait for that.
Coach, we do have, and I'd hate to not mention it, especially going into January here. Speaking of, and we talked about it off air, matchup USA on X. What they're able to do. They're two coaches local here in for Georgia high school football, and they've created something that I think, and you'd be able to speak on it as well, of just trying to take something off coaches' plates, which is obviously scheduling, whether it's 7-on-7s or padded camps or spring scrimmages, or you're still looking for games in the fall, whatever it is. And it's across the entire country. Give them a lookout, right? Go and see what it's free because they're coaches as well, and this thing needs to be as big as possible, because the more people that do it, the better it's going to be to find the right situations at the right level. As well as I do, sometimes there's these 7-on-7s that you're like, I don't need to go to the 7-on-7. I need to get with a couple teams, and we just need to have like an organized, pass skelly, for both sides here. And that's the kind of stuff you can put in there. I think that it'd be huge for coaches to go take a look at. But yeah, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it before I hopped off.
Absolutely. That's one of the, when you told me about that and we talked about that, that's probably one of the best resources out there right now for coaches, especially in Georgia, because I get inundated with emails and texts and calls about trying to find people games, and I just don't have the ability to do it, but these guys have. So make sure we check that out. Make sure as you go, you guys that are going back to school this week, enjoy your week. It's a new year. Some of you will have brand new rosters, brand new classes, brand new faces to learn and relationships to build. And just reminding you that on Thursday, I'll have the athletic director from Duluth High School, Chris Hall, be with us. So that's our episode on Thursday. I hope you've enjoyed it. We appreciate you listening, and remember to relax. It's just satire.